Hi, I'm Johanna Beckman, VP of Marketing and Commercial Operations here at uLab. Thank you so much for joining us for our first webinar in 2026, From Setup to Scale, Implementing a Digital Aligner System That Works. We're excited to have Dr. Adam Patenaude today present on his experience transitioning to uLab and how he's been incorporating the new updated cloud tools launched just a few weeks ago. We will have time for a few questions at the end of his presentation, so please enter yours in the Q&A field during the time that you're watching. If you wish to receive CE credit today at the end of the webinar, please complete the survey. Thank you for joining us in general, even though it's Friday the 13th. We hope to see you at another one of our webinars. Check our webinars page for recordings or future ones that are planned. Now over to you, Dr. Patenaude. Take it away.
Thank you for the introduction, Johanna. So I'm Dr. Adam Patenaude. My job today is to go through how we used uLab in our practices and built, and simply to discuss how the new update 2.0 has really made a change that's made this product so much better than it was even a couple of months ago. So a little background about me. I was a chemical engineer at Rensselaer Polytech Institute. Realized I was not getting enough socialization with people. I need to talk to people all day, I guess. And so from there, I got to play physics and move teeth. So I went to Harvard for dental school, and then from there to Baylor to do orthodontics. Personal life, I've got an awesome wife and two little kiddos. Alexandria, little girl, is 3, and Kai is 1. Big part of our life is our faith. Bentry is where we go. You go to this much school, you got to have some nerdy side of you. For me, it's competitive Super Smash Brothers. For anyone nerdy enough watching this to recognize the logos, I play Zero Suit Samus. Then I think the most important part is the 4 guys in the bottom. That's kind of become my study group. I think I encourage anyone, if you're really on your own, take some friends that are orthodontists, whether they're guys in the area or guys from school, people that share a very similar mindset to how you are, have the same idea of what a good finish is. For us, we all really take our board certification seriously and what it means to treat to the standard we would treat our own kids. So when you're having those discussions and getting different ideas about how to treat a case, it's really valuable. And then just for fun, I got the little Lab Golf logo there. I think as orthodontists, we solve problems all day. So one of the fun things is if you have a problem where you think you've got a solution to something, give it a go. For me, I was talking to one of the heads at Lab Golf and was discussing how I think there's a gap in a problem that's not being solved, and discussed through, drew something up in CAD and sent it off, and now we've got a product that I think is going to be coming out in the nearest future. So pretty excited about that. Just, use what we do every day as small business owners. We solve problems, and that goes a long way. So who are we in practice? So my practice, I bought an existing practice. It's been around now 43 years. That's Patenaude Orthodontics. It's not corporate, never corporate. That's a big part of what we feel is important. I think private practice, you can really do the most for patients. But as a good doctor, you can make a difference in any setting. It just takes more effort, I feel like, outside of the private practice setting. We really don't feel like cookie cutter approaches are important. We feel like we want to be able to, again, simple, but treat each kid like they're our own, which means that every time you see them, you look, you analyze it, maybe do something a little bit differently, or just simply change your wire sequence. For that practice, though, we're heavy adult population, about half, maybe a little more now. And then on the other side, I've got my wife's practice. She's a pediatric dentist, and we added orthodontics about a year and a half ago. And there I'm significantly like 70-80% phase 1. So kind of between the two practices, I've really gotten to apply uLab to tremendously different settings, and I do a bit of phase 1 aligners, often backed up with an RPE. I do use a traditional RPE with that, but just kind of getting to see the problems and having more instances to use the product through the two locations has been kind of eye-opening to how you kind of deal with different problems. So my journey started with a small meeting at Tosk, and basically introduction and playing with the software. I think the small meetings, as much as I love AAO and things like that, it's a great place to get to meet different people, really spend some time, and just if you're at those small meetings that are typically a little bit more academic and case focused, unlike a Damon Forum, which tends to be more of an experience meeting, I guess is how I would think about it. Um, those reps, they're coming there and they're really giving you your time. And I feel like I've had some of my most meaningful conversations that have really impacted what I use in my practice at meetings like that. My first case with uLab was in 2020. That was with Texas Dentistry, a company I worked for at the time, was starting up ortho inside a pedo chain there. And I didn't really use it a lot. I think the tech was different, the system was different, and I simply just didn't have enough aligner experience or confidence over braces at that point. Now I truly believe braces and aligners are each a tool with their own benefits, and there's times one is better than the other. We're just leveraging physics in the way that makes the most sense. Um, 2022 in my own practice, it was an Invisalign practice. I swapped to Spark, back to Invisalign, trialed others, and now it's uLab comprehensively. I truly feel like it does everything I need. And then in my wife's practice, we started with uLab right from the start. So what is the uLab service? Like I said, it's changed a lot. So it was aligner planning, you could export STLs, and you did everything as the doctor. Then they added so much more. Now you can do so much through the cloud. You don't need to have this big, strong laptop that's dedicated or have software that you use on some computers that don't communicate with others. Um, Retainer bundles, finishing, indirect bonding, it's really grown. And one of the big things that one of my instructors, and I'm sure other people have heard it many different places, used to say, Phil Campbell's, you can't make chicken salad from. Yeah. And basically, what I'm saying to that is you have to try these things and really focus on what you're doing to get the most out of them and find these new opportunities. Especially as an associate, I think I wasted time. I didn't want to commit extra to learning more, and I just wanted to master the systems they had. And I feel like I left things on the table. A lot of associateships, if you want to learn something and will care, if you can give the value add to the doctor, you can do that. You can grow your skills and help. And I think by the time you come out, you'll make less mistakes on your own dime in your practice. So it's something I really think as an associate I could have taken more out of. Encourage any associates that might be listening to this talk. Grow while you're doing this. There's great opportunity even in that time. So Texas dentistry time period, we kind of talked about it. The biggest thing I think I would say was one, my buy-in on aligners wasn't as great, but also we had a different fee structure. And especially with the patient base we had, having a higher cost to the aligners was really a turnoff. So we didn't have a lot of aligner patients in that practice. And I feel like I didn't put in, like I said, enough time to really learn it. And now with how much better the product is and how much more streamlined it is, I highly encourage people to check out uLab. There's a reason that's what we use at both our practices. So Patenaude Orthodontics, that's where I am now and where the rest of the talk will be moving forward. Simply put, I think uLab's the best product for a startup or new practice. I think aligners haven't replaced enough cases, and I think aligners have attempted to replace too many cases. Like I said, hammer and a screwdriver, there's times one tool doesn't work and one's way better than the others. Obviously, scanner freedom is wonderful, and integration, which is new in the new system, to be able to directly pull it in, no moving STLs over. And you're not tied to the contracts like I had with my Terra, where I had X number of cases I had to do and part of paying for it. I think the branded aligner case is huge, so anything from there, that's one of the big things I think is well worth it. But we'll move forward, and this is kind of a little background about me and how I feel. If I love something, I like to talk about it, and that's what we'll do here. So startups, where do I like it? Costs. And I think that's a big one. So you can choose to change your velocities, order just a couple trays, and go to a 2 week wear instead of a 1 week wear. Um, you can try to be really efficient in what you're doing in different stages, and that really allows you to not have to commit to a big upfront, let's say 13, 15, whatever, $100 lab fee from one of the big aligner companies, but you can break the cost up, spread it out. If you want to just say right from the get-go you want to go to the full case amount, uLab's got really competitive pricing. They also partner with Mary's List, and I highly recommend any startup to do something like that, and that helps offset the cost too. It's really easy to pivot. So again, if you've got a patient and you're moving them in aligners and they're really non-compliant, you need to move to brackets, you might be $100, $200 in, not $1,000 in, and you need to pivot. Now, is it your fault that the patient wasn't wearing it? Probably not. But at the same time, if you're a new startup and you're trying to build so much goodwill, or you just bought a practice and you need a new doctor there, like was for me a few years ago, you will pretty much trade a lot of things, whether you should or shouldn't, to try to build goodwill and make it better. So I think that's huge. If you want to pivot and go to braces, you're at a couple $100. You're not trying to ask a parent for $1,000 and you're like, okay, you know what? It's better for me to probably eat this couple $100 and just say, you know what? We're going to take care of it, make it happen. And so I think things like that, it's really helpful when you're doing that. Branding, being able to export your STLs and print. If you've got an in-office printer, you can get same-day starts. I don't really do same day, but I'll do like the next day or a 2 day start or something like that where we'll get them made. Basically, it's just less stress on the office, but you're still so fast. You get to still get someone going when they're excited. And I'll talk a little bit about early trays for that. They have a really good staff program, so that's great for anyone, but especially in a startup, you want your assistants, if they want to get their teeth done too, you can get them started. Big discount on aligners for the staff. And now you've got someone in your office going through the treatment that can talk about it with your patients. Really easy service, really fast responses. And kind of like we talked about with the versatility and the costs, same with the batch ordering, right? You can order a chunk at a time to make it easier, not just changing how many trays you need if you go to 2 week wear, but also how many you order. Then with your established practices, so or a transition, sort of kind of where I was in, one thing that was huge was the ability to expedite. So when I was with Spark, I didn't have the ability to expedite. As far as I understand, that's still not there. Maybe that's changed with them. I'm not totally sure. But if I need to order something and have it in a week, I can have it in a week. And that's really, really valuable. It makes it so much easier for the patient experience. It helps you deal with difficult situations where you've got a movement that you've been working so hard to track, and somebody got a new crown and it was a surprise, or something happened and you need to get something quickly. Now you don't have to tell the patient, okay, we're going to make you an Essex. It's going to be a month. We'll get something new. And then you've got a patient that's like, really? Like I'm already tired of this and now I gotta wait another month where we're not making progress. Being able to get something right back is huge. And being able to self-plan also allows you to do it, even if it's just you planning the couple first trays and then you choose to use a design where they set it up for you or something like that. Just getting something out and going can really just help with that. I think there's a lot of simplicity that you're not stuck waiting on the tech. You don't have to have, one of the things I used to hate was inefficient attachments, where Invisalign would say you can't have an attachment here next to your elastic hook. Why not? I'm going to have a cutout around this hook. I know that attachment's not going to be optimal, but the tray can still hook onto this gingerly beveled edge and just help seat that tooth while it's getting pulled in with the elastic. So let's say it's a canine, so it doesn't spin or something like that. Being able to just put things where you want, it might give you a warning, but you can still do it. And there's a lot of times where it's just really convenient to have that. So I think that's a big part for me to be able to have flexibility. And same thing, we've probably all carved on like stone models for a retainer at some point, or a 3D digital model before you do your suck down to kind of like twist out and incise or something like that. Well, you've got this software, so go ahead, put the movements in, and it'll be 1 tray, 2 tray worth of movements. And then if you feel like that's enough, that'll do it. You don't need to order tray 1, tray 2, just order the retainer. It'll be active to that stage, and now you've digitally moved it way more accurately than you were going to carve and add little bits of composite on the other side to try to create a pressure retainer with a suck down in office. So costs, obviously, time is money, but depending on where you are, it goes the other way. If you don't need setups. You might be able to do things way faster. So I'll have a video run on the side here. And so now that's going there. Um, while we're looking at that, basically I've got a small setup here, pretty basic little adjustment on a case, and this whole video is going to run. It's about 4 minutes and just a handful of trays. Now, if I had shipped that off and I had to buy a full package from somebody, I'm probably spending, I don't know, $300 more, something like that, $300 more. And for 4 minutes of my time, I mean, I don't know too many orthodontists that hourly um, wouldn't be very, very happy with that much extra income in their pocket. Or you've got slow time, right? And um, you worked real hard the night before and now you're totally caught up on most things in the office, or you're just, I want to do something clinical. I don't feel like paperwork right now and I've got some time. You can use that. You can use that to save you money. Or you'll be the startup phase or that new doctor buyout phase where it's not as busy as you want it to be yet. Well, cash flow is tighter at that point in time. So you can trade your time for cash, which often is really, really valuable when you got that bank loan coming out and you're trying to keep everything's going. So I think that's huge. And then one thing uLab does well is they have a cap. So that cap also includes your expediting costs, and that cap includes um, your fees for custom branding, etc. So if you have made a miscalculation, you thought you could do this yourself, and I've definitely done it, and then you found, oh man, I need a good size refinement, or I need to do X, Y, and Z. Well, it's going to be more. Or now I do want to add a design. I want them to design it because I got a little in over my head on that one. There's a cap, so you're not going to have to keep spending and spending and spending. It caps, and it caps at really a number you would pay with most companies anyway for a comprehensive case. So it's really efficient in that manner. We'll speed it up a little bit, and I'm going to sit through 4 minutes of this. But in the end, you can see here, I'm changing the velocity and I'm looking at how much movement speed I want, because I can go 2 weeks at a time. And now I've got, 9 total trays, top and bottom, and I'm going to have someone wear them for 2 weeks, and that's going to track. So I think that's huge. A lot of things you can do with that too is you can have guidelines. So you can have staff, especially easier with the cloud now, say, okay, I want you to do this, this, and this, and they can get it started and get it close, especially with that downtime when maybe you're doing other things or you're running out to do marketing or something. Then you come back and some of that time is saved for you. The things are generally ready to go. And cloud even has made that even less time now for us too, with the ability to AI segment and all of that. One of the things that was great was that I was able to take through, let's say, normal 1 week velocity, take that last case we did down another aligner or two, which you pay, if you're paying per tray on an a la carte, or you're in a bundle where you've bought, let's say, 24 trays, you can now go faster. That was something I couldn't do with the last company I was with. I wasn't able to do that if I had a bundled case where I was like, okay, let me buy 20 trays with a refinement. I couldn't do that. I couldn't be like, I want you guys to run it at 0.45 and 4.5 or whatever you want for your velocity that you like to use, but I couldn't do that at a 2 week speed. They said no, that's not allowed with this product. So you're not locked into that type of thing. So typically, if I'm doing a la carte, I'm doing 2 week wear. Um, then in phase one broadening, I'll even go faster. So I'll often run elastics off some lingual hooks off the expander. I'll typically use a normal RP on top if I'm doing some lower uprighting to just allow more upper expansion and not run into a buccal crossbite. And I'll throw some buttons on the lingual and have them wear an elastic. Those teeth are tipping faster than trying to rely just on the aligner. And so I'll go to a two week wear, or even 3 week wear, and I'll do a 0.75 and a 7.5 speed, which is way too high reasonably, but when you're basically doing movements that are mostly off the elastics in the posterior, those will go. I don't do that type of speed with like my anterior lining, but it goes really well. And we've got the ability to do so much flexibility in uLab. So you've got your keyframes. One of the things that's great about the keyframes is I can be like, okay, I want this to move left. Then after that's done, we're going to start moving all these things right. And you can break it up instead of some of the programs out there. So I've tried multiple in the past. Everything's sort of just fractional or segmented. Some of them, of course, the designers will create their own way of doing a keyframe, but being able to very easily do it yourself and say, that was close. Even if a designer did it, I want to move that over a little bit. It's awesome to be able to have that ability. Or you say, okay, trays 1 to 5, I want to go at full velocity, but this next step where we're trying to add a little bit of torque, I know this is going to be a struggle. Let's slow it down, or this is a tough tooth to rotate. This is going to be a struggle movement. Let's slow it down. And so you can use this flexibility both in the keyframes and also in ordering to accomplish that. So say you want 0.1 and 1.0 speed for a rotation that you know is going to be a little tricky. Well, great. Set your case to that. And then when you're in that keyframe that's going to be like that, you order all the trays. Then when you're in your frame of movements that aren't dealing with that rotation, let's say you wanted to make space around that tooth first, well, order every other tray in that little piece of the batch so that you're getting more normal speed as you're just creating space around that tooth before you rotate it. Just trying to create an example of a situation, but it's really nice to have that ability. Okay, so that one of the things that's kind of big is your ability to pivot. So we talked a little bit about this. Obviously, I think the branded cases are huge, but someone gets a new crown, so now you can move on from there. Or you had someone that was non-compliant, and so we had to move down from brackets to aligners. And I think it goes a long way. One of the things that I think is really nice is that you can really just be able to take care of the patients when you need that speed, get them something immediately. If you think about our reviews, right? Like one example is if you're going to get a bad review, it's probably because someone had a bad experience and they're generally unhappy. And so, um, if you are able to get something and it takes them 4 weeks in that pause, they're not happy. If you can get it in a week, it's huge. And then, let them know. Be like, hey, it's something that special we can do. It's not the norm for us to get it in a week, but I know this is important to you. I know that this is something that we can do. And, I don't tell them that there's an extra fee for it, but just part of the reason we're probably not doing it every time. But we can do that for them. Just let them know you've got them. You'll take care of them. And really just helps have a better experience there for you. So printing and same day starts, as I talked about, I don't really do same day starts, but I do, within a couple of days. And I think that's really valuable. So one, you can get someone going right away when they're excited. With 3D printing, the exported STL files, which again, also uLab's done better. You can print them in the right format for your printer. They've gotten so good at doing this for us. And then the adjustment period. So you can help somebody get some initial trays and they're moving. They're not just in a retainer that you made in office and said, okay, wear a retainer for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, get used to it while we do it. No, you can actually make meaningful movements in these first couple trays. Maybe they're without attachments, or maybe you do put attachments. That's up to you. But you can get it going. Or let's say you choose to do your whole workup because you've got time, you're going to do it that day, and you're not using, a cloud design or something like that, or having the techs help you. You can go ahead and print the first couple if you're going to be ordering them in. In my office, I'll make a few, but I won't typically make a whole caseload. I think like 3 upper, 3 lower, maybe 4 is really about all I'll print in the office. I want to be able to do it on one build plate, and I'm usually trying to do a couple other like retainers or little tweak trays at the same time. So usually kind of like 8 trays is definitely the max I think that I've self-printed for a case. And I think it's also great for little things. So chairside refinement. So that's where, um, everything's tracking, but you didn't build in enough overcorrection, let's say. So the aligners are perfect. You don't need a new scan because you know that where that stage is where the teeth are. So you plan to add a little bit more intrusion. Or you are trying to recover a little bit of tracking on a tooth. Let's say a lower incisor is not keeping up because there was a slight space discrepancy. So you go ahead, floss was tight, run a quick strip through it, and then create a couple of trays um, that are just going to simply lift that tooth back to where it's supposed to be if it got squished down a little bit or intruded from that lack of space, and then get them going in their trays that they currently have. Of course, you can always do a whole new refinement, but especially if you're saying, well, I've got this batch, this was an a la carte, and I just want to make a couple trays to get it back rather than the next 6 or 7 trays I've already got purchased. You can just make a couple, get them back to the place they need to be, and continue the plan. Or, just simply talk to the patient. The way I'll typically say it is tell so and so, hey, sometimes when we take these scans, there's not an exact um, overlap or segmenting of the teeth when we try to break them up into little things to move. And so I'm just going to make a tray or two to keep things moving, but get us back to being even more efficient with our movements. So overall, we can save some treatment time for you. And I'll have these whenever. So usually I'll say I'll have these by the end of the week or at the very beginning of next week, just to give some flexibility and really makes things kind of easy to talk through when you're having something that, again, in the past is we gotta wait for X long to get these back in office, and then we'll go from there. Again, especially today's day and age where you pull up your phone and you have something instantly, people don't want to wait. So initial trays, this is what I'll typically do. In most cases, very few cases where you wouldn't just have some like making a little bit of space so the aligners can better wrap around the teeth. This is very rarely not a beneficial movement. So in those cases, of course, use your clinical judgment. And there's some that I won't do this on, but the most, it'll look something like this, where we're simply just going, selecting all the teeth. And then once you have that, we're just going to go over, do a couple clicks and just push them buckle just a little bit. And now that we've done that, you can go ahead, print those first couple trays. And usually I'm actually just doing 2, and I'm doing a 2-week wear on those as we're getting the teeth moving. But just getting a couple, because then um, if it's only a little bit and it's just tipping, it's going to track really well most of the time. And you're going to be able to pick up right from that when you go and order your full batch after those. I'll usually have a little bit lower velocity when I do that too, just to make sure the tracking's going. And when you go to get your attachments now your attachments are on, patients are trying in the trays over the active attachment bumps, and all the teeth have sort of gotten through that initial bit of starting some movement. So it's a little easier when you're putting them on and off too. And if there's a slight discrepancy because the PDL has been a little bit widened from this, you get an easier time seating your templates. All of that gets just to be a little bit easier. So then let's talk about kind of pricing tiers and staff program. So talked a little bit about this earlier, but your staff's going to talk about it. And I had somebody tell me every staff member needs to get an attachment on one of the canines. Why? The canines at the corner, as we've probably seen in our patients, those stand out. People notice them. So he wanted that to be there on all the staff so that people would ask them about it, so that they had someone talking about it. I don't agree with that, but I do think it's kind of, in a way, it was its own kind of genius. Um, uLab lets you have a ton of aligners per quarter for staff. So I've never even come close to touching it on the couple staff members that we've done treatment on, but it's really, really nice to be able to do that. So if your whole office, wants to get going on it, you can really kind of get everyone started through some bundle orders of the trays. Um, Again, reasonable pricing tiers, which I think is huge. You're not locked in to these volume contracts that you might have with another one of the companies. I know I had one at one point where I had to finish X cases in a couple years to help pay for my scanner. Um, You've got the bundle ordering. So if you want to do kind of the old school, like I want this many trays, or comprehensive, Mary's List I think is great for most people. Really big fan. You get a discount there, or a la carte. So you're not locked in and really have a lot of control. I know I've said that so many times, but I think that goes a long way, especially if you're running and managing a practice. So customer service is fantastic. Um, Available immediately. Jason, who, if anyone works with uLab, has probably dealt with Jason before. And I just decided to pick like a random text thread from it. But what's fun about this is if you kind of look really closely, um, this was, I don't know, we're in the same time zone, 7:45 at night. Had a question. I'm thinking, okay, Jason, don't worry about it. Deal with this tomorrow. This isn't urgent. And I've got a message back in minutes, and we set something up, and it's just pretty cool to trying to read the little timestamps. But we did that. We had our talk at 10. Then you can see, oh, at noon, I made another mistake submitting it. So, okay, we got to talk again. And gets it going. And I've got my problems resolved and like back on one more thing off my plate, like instantly. So to me, that's pretty cool how responsive they've been. And it's really, really easy. Um, and I think that's something we all kind of want when we're counting on a company, and you've got patients and chairs and staff asking you questions, you have to have answers. Um, I think one of the things that's nice about batch ordering too is you don't have to order every tray. I'm sure we've all done that or had like aligners from other companies. You get a plan that's 70 trays long. The odds that those 70 trays are going to track are not super high. So go ahead, get your first 20 trays, and then see how we're doing. Get the next 20 trays. And what I'll do is I'll have a little reminder and it says, okay, hit submit, or one of my staff can go ahead and hit submit. You could have that delegated if you want to. Um, and I mean, what we used to do, I wish I had a picture of it, but we'd take all those old aligners that we'd throw away and glue, glitter, put them on some garland, and throw that out for your Christmas time decorations. But the bigger reason I think it's great too is storage. So there's only so much cabinet space you probably want to dedicate to aligner boxes, or how much of a shelving and of closet you want to use up, how hard you want it to be to find all the names. And so now you've got less sitting there. It makes it a little bit easier too. And of course, managing costs. So that was the big reason I started using the batches, because I'm taking over this practice and I know what I need to spend uh, every month between all the bills I have. So I'm trying to make sure that my initial cash out of pocket is lower. And now it's more about the storage, but that was a big piece of it was I could get going for quite some time. And now I've had time for that patient to have an initial payment and that patient to have a couple monthly payments or different things. It just made the cash flow work more easily for me. So I think things I could have improved. I've got this case here we'll talk about quickly too, but getting the staff involved a little bit sooner. I think trying to have some help, have them look and see when things are coming in. I think it was doctor driven to start, so I tried to keep it all super doctor driven. Well, uLab's got all these tools to make it easier for you in ways that you can have the whole team help you. I think I think I was a little bit too lax with doing custom branding, because it was like, oh, I can save a couple dollars here if I don't put the branding on this case or something like that. Or I would try to make do with one tray less when I really thought it's probably good to make a little space around that tooth. That movement's going to be tough. You just things that we've all kind of learned from different ways. So those are things I would change. I'll have a whole slide on it, but leaning on the side of extra space, I think always err on a touch more space than you think you need. Over open bites and plans, typical things with aligners. Um, Finish with extra overjet. So if you're tight on the anterior contact, these are aligners, you're probably going to have someone packing on their back teeth a little bit with just a little bit extra outer rotation. So you're going to want to make sure you have just a tiny bit more overjet. Those are things that I found were headaches I had, especially when you're ordering things on your own as a batch. That can help. So This is just that case kind of example. She was super low angle, and my planning was really just a little bit of IPR, upper lower. I didn't give much overjet at all for someone that had had some anterior contact. She's ultra low angle and deep, and we're going to be doing IPR and closing spaces. And I'm expecting that the bite's also going to open, and I'm going to have this overjet. Obviously, that's not what happened. I got the bite deeper, and I've got a super low angle patient crunching on aligners. Now she's deeper, and I've got heavy contact. Unfortunately, we talked about, okay, we'll go back, we're going to reset, do this a little bit differently. Um, but the patient was pretty burnt out on wearing aligners anyway, so we ended up moving into to braces to finish the case, which this case probably, because of where I brought it to, might have made more sense to finish in braces from this point, but just things that, I do differently. And so the talking about more space, I think this is one of the big things. So at the end of setup, we've got this little picture here. I've got the amount of IPR essentially that would be needed, or the collision amount. And the thing about it is that the software is rounding. So you might round down a 0.1 or round up a 0.2. So what I'll do is I'll basically just take that tooth and I'll do a subtle movement, mesiodistal, and just check if things move. So if that one goes away or goes up and the other one doesn't change, so now I can get 0.2 next to each other, or one subtle movement creates a 0.2 on the other side, I know that the software is probably rounding it, and there's probably a little bit more there, and I'll err on doing, you know, the extra. So we can kind of see that here. So if you look at the lateral here, as I just touch it back one and move it, you're seeing that with the 0.2 switches on both sides. So if that much movement to, less than that much, right? I'm doing 0.2 of a movement, but I'm seeing um, an increase, then let's restart this one. This slide, sorry about that. Um, okay, so I talked about assuming more space. One of the things that I think is important is just making sure that we err on the side of more. So if I take this lateral here, I'll move it back a touch, I'll move it forward a touch, mesiodistal, and we'll see that the 0.2 and 0.1 space switches on both sides. It means that it's really close, or something might be rounding just a little bit, because often you'll see that you'll be within that rounding window and it'll stay when you do that. But if they both swap back and forth, there's probably that the 0.1 is closer to 0.13. I don't know. And the 0.2 might be 0.18, something like that. What I'm going to do in that case almost every time is I'm going to assume it's 0.2 and 0.2 as far as the IPR I do. So just checking that and having that note, I think, really helps the predictability as well. It's a whole lot easier to have a little bit of an overcorrection tray than it is to have things bind and stop tracking. So then chairside refinements. We talked a little bit about this briefly. I got this from Dr. Manueli, and one of the things that I really think is valuable from this is that if everything's tracking, you don't need to go through the work of taking a scan, putting the patient through it, setting up a new set of cases. You can just do a quick check with floss, that's what I'll do, to make sure that nothing's too tight. Bring the computer over, show the patient, hey, your teeth are tracking perfectly. Here's where we thought it would be digitally. But the reality is that's why you're coming to an orthodontist and a specialist, because you want to see how we can move things. And if we intrude things just a little bit more or adjust it here, here's how I'm going to overcorrect it, because kind of understand how the physics work. But the teeth are already touching and we can just get these ordered. You don't have to go through us putting you through the scan or any of that. Some patients will want to see it, some don't. But also it's just a bunch of doctor time that I'm not doing later, because I right at the chair side when I would have been doing it, writing all the things down I want to do. Instead, I'm just doing it and getting it done. So it's awesome, awesome tip that I really like. So now let's kind of end about how 2.0 kind of made some changes for us. Big thing is being on the cloud. You don't need the high spec computer to be with you. NVIDIA, as we've all seen, prices just going crazy with everything with AI. We're not victim to them like other fields right now. The flexibility of doing the chairside refinement, you don't have to have that fancy computer everywhere. Scanner integration is involved, so I don't even have to worry about going and finding my scans. It's just easy click and it auto imports. There's the AI segmentation that saves you a bunch of time. So now, what you used to have to do, where you had to go check and see how the teeth were segmented and go through step by step by step, it would take, whether it was you or a team member, it was going to take you 5 minutes. Now you let it run. You can do other work. You can watch golf, do whatever's important to you, and then come back after it's already done, do a quick check to make sure you like how it did it, and it's really, really accurate. I've been really happy with the cases I've done with it so far, and just get right into it. Also, we've got retainer fast track. So any uLab users before, you used to have to go in and do a little mini setup with it. Now you put it in, run through a quick form in case there's little things you want, and go. And you've still got your branding going out to the patient, and it's easy, it's simple, and it makes, again, using uLab for everything just that much easier without some of the hangups we or headaches used to have to do it. Now it's all simple for us. It's been a big change. So chairside refinement, do one here, and this is my wife's old computer. No NVIDIA, no AMD, can't upgrade to Windows Pro. 6 years old, fold over tablet computer, nothing fancy, but we can do it. So we have a case here. We'll go ahead and run through. So we let it open up, and then once it's there, we can go into edit mode. So we say, okay, everything was tracking great. So go in and just make any movements you want. And then after we get those couple of things just kind of moved apart to the way that we want them, now we've got all the functionality in the cloud to do all of these tipping movements, to do whatever we might want it to do. And so we get that and we're good to go. Now, once we have kind of whatever we're wanting to see, we get things put together and go from there. So we're just basically looking at the fact that you can do kind of everything. And so now I'll talk a little bit about what we have. So as we did those movements, now we have all the things that we would want to have. We can change velocity, we can change the staging, we can do the keyframes. These were limits we had before in some of the cloud. You can stage your IPR as well. So I just went in and made sure there were some collisions. So you can kind of look at the bottom here. I'm able to change and move where I want to have the IPR. If you go and you want to move it later, you can go click on the green box that's on the screen and say, okay, I want to bring one of those point ones down to 0. I want to do it after tray 2 and create a second IPR stage. We can move the velocity around. I think one of the big things here is just having the ability to do all the little changes you would want at once there, and being able to have your full attachments as well and an elastics. Um, I think really all we're just trying to show here is that when I'm doing this, I have my full functionality. And it's really nice to be able to do this anywhere on the go, whether you're going and grabbing lunch and you brought your computer, anything. It's really nice to have uh, that functionality for us. So bite ramps, everything, overlay, really all the stuff that you would have used before on your software uh, on the platform. It's here now on the cloud, and I know we keep talking about it, but it really is a huge change to be able to have access to all of those things. So let's say we're going to do a traditional refinement. And so with the traditional refinement, what we might be doing here is we'll take a new scan versus the chair side where we just pull up and we know everything's tracking. Well, now we can go through uDesign and they'll set something up for us the same way that we would want to do it, or you can still choose to plan yourself off the new refinement and have something immediately. Um, uDesign gets things back to you fast. They get it back within 3 days. And every time you make an adjustment on it, they're going to get that back to you within a day. So you're not waiting super long with anything there. So let's see, we'll go through and we'll do one here, and we'll kind of walk through some of the functionality that we have on cloud. Basically what you'll see is that the gist of it is that you really have it all. So I go in and import. I can choose my scanner here, whether I want one or the other. And so for me, Medit and Ally Star are the two that I typically use. Then you can select your case, and then from there we go in and we can do your typical setup. So now the um, scan has been brought in. We can see that it was integrated for us, and I didn't have to go searching or go through like open the file, upload, drag it over. It just immediately goes for us. And so now we can move on to kind of the next part of the plan. And so as it loads, if you want to put in photos, you can here. In this case, I'm not. It's just a little detailing. And then is it for retainer? No. Go through right, go through the questions. And here it's saying 0 because I put it in off a case that I wasn't planning to do another refinement on, because I had just finished doing it, but it was just one to see because I was going to be able to play with it in a lot of different ways. But go ahead, you got a section, add your notes, all the things you would normally do if you were going to be submitting to a tech. Put anything that's important. And one of the things I really like is that you can do the equal liner button, how many days you're going to be wearing it. I think it's just a really useful feature. How many passive aligners, all the things that like you'd have to put in preferences or you'd have to write in your note. uLab listens and they want to have this information. So they've reacted to the doctors and they've added these pieces for us in this so that you can just really click and check through. And because I was doing this off an already open to be refined or retained case, it's not having me do that there. That's why there's 0 there. So now we'll talk about it. We got the new scan and we're going to go through functionality. So this is what I was talking about. I let this run, so we didn't have to wait through all the load time, but I let it do the AI segmenting. And so went away, did something else, but we're looking at it here and seeing it did a really good job capturing all these teeth. Anyone who's done this before knows that this took a few minutes of your time before you even started your planning. Now I have it all done there and I can look at it and we can check. So we check segmentation, you can check orientation. So let's say that, that model need a little bit rotation. Obviously it's extreme, not where it is, but now we'll see here it comes up rotate. It's going to put you in your new orientation. So if any of the things that are auto put in for you, you don't like it, you can go ahead and do it. Same thing, model surface. Let's say you had an attachment, you want to digitally remove it. All your features are still there to go ahead and do it. So I think the big takeaway is that it's been great in being able to kind of do everything that we want from the software. So you've seen me move teeth before. We'll move on from there. So one of the things is the improved cloud workflow that I think is great for the retainers. So now we have an order retainer button, and you just quickly can go in now and same type of form where it's going to ask for us just to go ahead and we can use our integrated scan. So go ahead, import there, pick your case. It'll go ahead and put model in, and that model was already in because I was doing it, but just kind of pulling it up and showing it here. And yes, it's for a retainer, so now you get all your retainer questions. Do you want bracket removal? Do you need lingual bar? You can also request approval. So like, let's say you don't feel good with them just making it, you can say, all right, I want to see what you designed before you go, but additional instructions, typically, I'm just saying what material Riva I want, and I want a straight cut, and that's it. So it's that fast. Now I've already got things put together and it's submitted. And before, that was to me one of the bigger hangups with uLab was that we had to wait to get this submitted into the order stage. And then from here you can finish this out, hand it off, and it's literally just selecting how many retainers you want. And if you want one of the retainer bundles, that might be two or three, or in this case, this is part of my comprehensive case. So um, with uLab, you get a set of retainers with your comprehensive, which is huge. So now you go through, standards included, customs included in any comprehensive case. And so now we're ordering it as this patient is finishing up treatment. So like I said, I want to talk just a little bit about IDB. And so what I think is great is that now I feel like the IDB's gotten for everybody. The big update in 2.0 is that you can now flip brackets. Personally, I use a flip bracket script. I use Norris, but I feel like the standard script gives, if you want to fill the slot all the way, it gives too much flaring on the upper incisors. So I use upper laterals on my centrals and lower incisors on my upper laterals, but I flip them. And so for me, being able to have that functionality was great. However, in my super deep bite cases, like the Div 2s where I need a lot of torque, I am using the standard script, and it's great to be able to also save different setups and different scripts of brackets that'll go in the teeth for what your case type is as well. So let's quickly kind of look at some of the functionality. You can see here on my upper laterals, the doors go gingerly, but the brackets turn red if you've got any collisions, so you'll know real fast, okay, I'm expecting bite turbos. Instead of trying to look in the mouth and have them bite, do you feel a bracket? Do I think I see space above the bracket and tooth? This case was obvious, but sometimes, when we're putting on brackets, it's not as obvious. And so being able to move it, I love the fact that you get this little occlusal window as well as whatever angle you want to look at the tooth when you're moving the brackets and kind of see your positioning. From there, the bracket table, that's one of the ones I use the most. So if I want to know that my incisors are even or one's a little more because I plan to polish the edge a little bit, whenever you've got it, when you're making your trays, being able to segment your trays however you want is also super useful. I really like having that ability. Sometimes you want them all together. Sometimes you want, different groups to get around a rotation or a reason that a tooth's going to be tougher to bond. So I love having that. I use medium thickness. Different people use different. I use Key 2 IDB, um, Ortho as my resin, and I feel like for me the handles are just floppy enough that they get out of the way of the tongue without any seating if the patient does push their tongue at all, even when you're trying to control it. But they're strong enough that when I'm peeling off the trays, I don't have any issues there. So here's kind of a look at what the trays look like. And that's where I was talking about the handles there. But you can make the setup whatever you want for the case to what you think is going to be easy to place based on it. So from there, we'll just kind of look at it. And what's nice is even on them, you can kind of see a little bit the way the reflection is, but you can see that we even have the numbers of each tooth. So if you ever get confused which one goes where, which can sometimes happen when you make little premolar segments, was that upper, lower, etc. All of them are listed there for you. And you've even got these little holes on top, which is an awesome feature, right above. So when you're curing, you can get light directly down between the bracket and the tooth. I use OrthoConnect as my cement for it. It's like a semi-flowable, but it's a thick flowable, so it's easy to get on these, have a little bit of movement without having any super thick chunks of flash or anything like that. And I'll just basically fill it flat, and that works really well for me with the IDB. After that, though, I think we've kind of comprehensively gone through everything with the new update and sort of where uLab's kind of been in my journey. Please feel free to ask any questions, and I appreciate y'all taking your time today to spend it with kind of me and the team here. And see if we can help provide a tool for you that I know has been really good in my practice and see if it can be useful for you. Thank you guys.
Awesome. Um, wow, that was so much information. Um, and you've gone dark, Dr. Patenaude. What
Yeah,
happened over there?
the power went out about 2 minutes ago, but I got internet and I've got enough laptop battery.
Oh
So
my gosh.
I got the screen illumination right now to try to cover things. This is
Oh, well, I'm glad that we got through at least all the presentation part of this. So, and we'll we'll get some questions done. First of all, thank you for all of that preparation and all of that knowledge sharing. I know I was super excited to have met you last year and find out that you were a chemical engineer, which I am as well. There's, I think, few of us in the world. Um, but really appreciate the pearls you shared, especially getting started with new offices as with a new office and how at least our platform can help you with that. Um, Couple of questions that came in. One of them was, you mentioned at the beginning phase one aligners and that you work with your wife's practice and you do a lot of phase one in there. Assuming you use uLab for those patients, I guess how does the platform or does what's important in a platform when doing phase one aligners?
Yeah, I think there's a few things. And yes, I think I do use uLab for it. And what's nice about that is it's very easy to put Pontic or eruption shells, and it's
Hmm.
something that I didn't realize before when I've used other softwares, but if you take a tooth that's partially erupted and you try to extrude it a bunch to create a guide path for it, the softwares kind of go crazy and can make really weird shapes happen under the teeth. Um, Fortunately, which is just a blessing, whoever coded it, you can pat on their shoulder. That doesn't happen. You get basically a tunnel in uLab, and a lot of times if you've got the edge surface of the tooth, instead of just creating an eruption dome, because that happens, there's room for the tooth to fit, and you've still got the occlusal surface, so you can actually get like little bits of rotation, or little things for the tooth to fit in. Um, Truly, no no particular reason for saying that because we're on this call, but it's something that I think uLab actually offers as a benefit that might
Great.
not have been intended, but works really well. I like it better
It's
than
good to
eruption
have
does.
good unintended consequences, right?
Absolutely,
So,
yes. So,
there's another question on phase one, so we'll just stick on that for right now. It says,
sure.
is there a max amount of velocity you would recommend for phase one treatment?
The max I've done successfully has been 7.5 and 0.75. And that was with tipping incisors, little bit of rotation in the incisors. The rotation was definitely not at that speed, the tipping was, and it was
Okay.
for posterior uprighting, and it was supported off a expander with elastics and lingual buttons. And that's actually that speed has become, unless I've got some very particular rotation, then I go down to 5 and point 0.5, but that's become my standard velocity in phase ones. Um, I find that I'll have them wear the trays for a couple of weeks, 2 to 3, and they run those elastics off, and it guides into them really well. And really, it's been fortunate that that's been kind of the sweet spot of you can have something for someone to guide with, and just tell them, hey, have a denture tab at home because after a few weeks, it's probably going to get a little dirty, but um, the emergency visits go way down compared to brackets and tipping with brackets. So yes, you can have a button pop off the same way a bracket can, but unlike the wires that flex and kick out of the tubes, we don't worry about that. So it's kind of nice.
Got it. Cool. Thank you. Different topic. You talked a lot about sprints, and I think that's what elicited this question is what's your workflow in ordering in batches? Not ordering the 70 aligners all in once. Is there a certain magical number that you go with?
Yeah, not exactly. Typically, um, if it's the first part of treatment, I'm doing roughly 10 weeks and 10 weeks. And so I'll order 22 or 24 so that
Mm.
in the meantime, like after I see the patient for 10 weeks of trays, see the patient for 10 weeks of trays. Now that could be I ordered 22, 24, or 12 if I'm doing 2 week wear in that patient.
Mhm.
But that much time, because at that point, you've gotten to a place where something may stop tracking and you might want to do the chairside refinement or do something to recapture, or you may want to rescan. And it's really easy in the way we have our workflow. We just set a notice that says, at that appointment, I've already got the couple trays, so I know I'm going to be good for a while if anything were to hang up. And things you just learn from things going sideways left or right. And now you've got the ability to order, and we just have a note so that if everything's tracking, I just say, yep, things look great. And one of my assistants can open up uLab and just order the next 20 trays. And so that's the number we've found has been the sweet spot.
Could I theoretically find more places in the office to stick aligner boxes? Yes. We have like kind of a medium small set of cabinets that's just a really convenient spot for us. And so that's been what's worked well for me.
I'm all for optimizing storage space, so I get it. Okay, what you mentioned your transition from Spark and Invisalign or Invisalign to uLab. Is there
Mhm.
anything like to what's the learning curve? Is there like a watch, anything to watch for if you're looking to make that transition?
Sure. A year and a half ago, big time. Now, not really. So I think it's like now you've got the scanner integration, which was something that just used to be sort of a tedious step to go take your scan and bring it in.
Hmm.
Um, and then before, it was doctor directed and you had to be on the desktop. You couldn't do it. I know I said it in the talk, and obviously I'm speaking with uLab right now, but to anyone like watching,
Hmm.
truly, like I'm speaking because I like this. The new update makes life really, really similar and the same. So your transition is no different. And so you go in. Honestly, the big change is you're going to have more tools. And I know it sounds funny. You're going to have the ability to change velocities more. You're going to have the ability to play with more things.
Hmm.
And I guess if I had to say one thing, it would be like, don't get lost in the weeds on that at first.
Hmm.
Like Riva plastic is a little bit different. All of them are a little different. Get used to it. It's a good plastic. You're going to be very happy with how it tracks, but like don't worry about trying all the new velocities. Do everything the way you would and slowly make those changes. I think it's too easy to get lost in the weeds, but fortunately, I can truly say that this new update has made it feel seamless. So all the stuff I
Good.
used to say I don't have to anymore.
Well, that's good to hear. I know this is a very
Yes.
new release, and you are so used to using the old platform. As a
Yep.
reminder for everyone online, we do have two kind of full cloud training webinars available that are recorded that we ran over. Jason, who you spoke about, did recorded one last Friday.
Okay,
So if
fantastic.
people want a more detailed dive into that, they can do that. Um, what was I going to say? You say you do, this is one of the ones you do, don't do same day starts. You do kind of 1 to 2 day starts. I guess, what are some key things if you're looking to try and implement that kind of quick start in your practice?
Yeah. So one thing I think that makes that more doable is like awesome person to listen to. There's uLab, Lux Creo, different webinars, Dr. Bill Lehman on some of like the same day stuff. But I think with 3D printing, anyone that's done it knows it's pretty messy and takes some
Mhm.
significant. Oh, looks like we got power back.
Ooh, yay.
Okay. All right.
We can now see
Um,
you.
yes. Uh, it's pretty messy and takes time. So if you're going to really do same day on the printing, you've got to have somebody that is able to dedicate their time to be able to
Mhm.
run that. So
Mhm.
getting them to make like just the initial setups for those early trays are really fast. So if you were to break it down to time, I tried timing myself. It was something actually Bill told me to do. And you can get that done in, 5 to, well, maybe we're in between 5 to 6 minutes.
Okay.
Nope, 5 to 6 minutes. And then, get the files through the printer in another, you know, 10 minutes. So you're probably 15 to 20 minutes in on like work you've got there. Then you've got to have basically you got to have a team member dedicated to running that print, getting it polished, getting it trimmed. I certainly would say, you could do it over lunch. But like you want to have them earlier. You don't want to have them right before lunch, so you have time. You probably want like a at least minimum 2 to 2.5 hours to get things turned around
Okay.
and do it. And that's somebody dedicated. That's the reason I don't do it same day. Like if I had another person for that, I think we would try to do some.
Hmm.
But it's way easier to have a whole afternoon to let things run or an overnight. And then if something gets really, really busy that day, that's why. So honestly, almost all of ours are 2 day. Because of that, it gives
Makes
us
sense.
buffer. So it's really hard to disappoint a patient, as we all know. It's a whole lot
Mhm.
easier to meet or exceed expectations, and 2 days really does that.
That's great. Well, I know we're over time. You had so much great stuff to share during the core part of the presentation, and your lights going on and off. You may have some things to attend to in your
No,
office.
I'm okay.
um, but well, stay safe in your part of the country where I think the weather's still a little challenging. And thank you, everyone, for attending. Thank you so much, Dr. Patenaude, for everything you shared today. Thank you, Riley, for being our technical producer. He's the man behind the scenes. You just see his name on the screen there. And if you are looking for your CE credit, don't forget to take the survey at the end. So thank you so much and have a
Thanks,
great
Jamie.
Friday
Thank
the
you, everybody.
13th. Okay,
Have a good
bye-bye.
day.